Welcome to the live version. Happy Friday, everybody. The Starr and D'Amico show presented by Cheapest T-Shirts. Cheapest T-Shirts is where you want to be. McLean's Pub, Little Bear Online, and Catherine Prince Realty with Remax Platine. There's Marco D'Amico. I am Shaun Starr. How about this? All you Starr sound haters in the chats that I see every day, you're going to love this one. I've got a massive power outage in my neighborhood, and we're not back till 4 p.m., so I'll apologize in advance for the AirPods sound, but nevertheless, happy to be here, felt compelled to be here, especially after last night's result. You know, when I went to bed, the Montreal Canadiens, Marco, we're leading this hockey game. I want to start by talking about the blame game. I want to talk about how this happened, why this happened. I don't think it's as simplistic as to point to Garrett Rank or Schlerich or the referees on the ice last night. They're involved, no doubt, but what happened? What happened to the Montreal Canadiens from your point of view now you had a chance to sleep on it that saw a 5-3 third period lead turn into a 6-5 regulation time loss, Marco?
I mean, if I say anything other than the refs were ass, I'm just going to get flamed anyway, so who cares? I don't know. I'm going to try to have a civil, very analytical understanding of this game. People may not like this. Sorry. The problem with this game, very simple. The Canadiens had their opportunities. The referees were inconsistent at both ends of the ice.
Yeah.
Ultimately, when it came time to having to defend the penalty kill, right? I just don't feel like the Canadiens did a really good job of that late in the third. They were obviously tired from having played back-to-backs, and I don't blame them, especially playing as quickly as they did against the Canadiens. To me, ultimately, when you have to look at how this game broke down, they needed that extra save from Samuel Montembeault. They could not get it. And now here we are with a 6-5 loss in this situation. But again, it all comes down to breakdowns. Honest to God, this is the one game I wish I didn't have to talk about.
Why?
Because everyone just wants to see me say the refs suck. There's a conspiracy against the Canadiens. Wow. Even the players are pointing this out. Someone needs to do something about it. Like, you went to bed, Shaun.
Yeah.
My DMs and comments combined to like 1,000 folds were just that last night. And I understand fans being frustrated. And yes, that was probably one of the worst officiated games we've seen. But the refs didn't put the puck in the net.
Well, exactly. Like, the comments are the comments, right? Like, I don't want to make this a philosophical take on where we are today in the world, in media, in instant reaction, and everybody has an opinion, but I'll give you an example. I saw on Marco's timeline some guy who's got a Habs banner right on his profile page talked about what a biased show this is going to be, and then I was like, okay, let's see what this person's about, So I clicked on their profile, and it's F Trudeau, and it's conspiracy theory this, NHL is bought and paid for, blah, 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 right? Like, when I see stuff like that, truth be told, you can call me a sucker. I don't care. I immediately, that person's opinion is null and void. I don't care. I don't care because, as you pointed out, Sam Montembeault's got to make a save. Josh Anderson has been in this league for how long? For 10 years, right? Brendan Gallagher has been in this league for a long time, right? And as I said in the opening, this is a layered loss. It's a layered loss. It's Sam Montembeault's 749 save percentage, or 793, whatever it was. 842 on the season for Sam Montembeault. Hayden Primo was 836 last season, right? There's a goaltending issue, and there's a problem with Sam Montembeault. But he's also not the full stop reason why this team lost. When the referee went to Brendan Gallagher and said, listen, we made a mistake. We made a mistake with the Uri Slafkovsky decision. To me, we can talk about that as the TSN turning point of the hockey game, where Josh Anderson slapping his stick on the ice, jawing back and forth with the referee, doing a mock cheer that resulted in him getting teed up. At the end of the day, while the referee made a mistake, Josh Anderson made a mistake. And the Montreal Canadiens, had to pay for that. And as we pointed out on our live show on Thursday, you can't be giving this team power play opportunities. So, like, I'm not pointing everything exclusively at the referees, even though they had a subpar performance. Collectively, the team kind of fell apart in the third period based on a set of circumstances, not one individual thing, but a few different things that added up to a major loss and a major collapse when they had a 5-3 lead, Marco, because they outplayed the Edmonton Oilers. They were the better team on the ice again.
By far. And honestly, that's what makes it difficult to try and analyze a game like this. Like, I have nothing to add to that. I think that's spot on.
So what's the deal with Sam Montembeault?
Don't know what to tell you. He doesn't play this game.
I mean, hold on. Do you want to be here and do this show today, or are you just out of it? Because you got nothing to add to this, I'm absolutely asking a question.
I'm absolutely deflated, guys. Like, I understand everyone being pissed off, man, but like, leave me out of it. Is all I got to say.
I mean, I guess maybe more refs.
We'll analyze this as straight shot as we can.
Yeah.
Like, there's no chance that I'm going to that we're going to be able to fix the NHL overnight when it comes to their officiating. That's what boards of governors are for. That's what GM meetings are for. You know, if the Canadiens really wanted to stick it to the refs, then Jeff Molson would pay the $25,000 fine that would ensue of Martin St. Louis for publicly calling them out. Like, that's where it's done. It's not going to be.
Well, that's it.
No,
well, that's it. At least the referees admitted that they made the mistake on the Slafkovsky call right on the boarding. I mean, that was a brutal soft call. There's no getting around that. We're going to tell it like it is in all aspects, right? But like, the other layer to this, Marco, defensively, this team in front of Sam Montembeault, they weren't good enough. Noah Dobson had a nice bounce back game on a great feed. Oliver Kapanen distributing the puck, looking great. Cole Caufield's on 7 goals, beauty goals, two different varieties. Great move, great shot again on Cal Pickard. Josh Anderson gets a goal. Like, there was some positives here, but yeah, the overwhelming takeaway is, how did this team let this slip away? And it is a layered defeat, but good teams have a way to bounce back, and it's a learning moment. Especially, it was just so surprising to see Josh Anderson react the way he did. If you go on my Twitter timeline, I retweeted like the whole sequence from the bird's eye view of Anderson sweeping the puck out of the net after the goal, and then like tapping his stick on the ice a few times, and then clapping to the referees, and then ultimately, he gets teed up, and the Canadiens are unraveled at that point, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I think the refs' emotions also got involved in this game. I think the Canadiens being in this situation, you're playing the Edmonton flipping Oilers. Yeah. Don't give the refs an excuse when you know that they're emotionally compromised in this game to give you a call. Is it a soft call? Yes. Was the Slafkovsky call a soft call? Yes. Was the Mike Matheson interference with his stick call a bad call? Yes. But at the end of the day, it was inconsistent on both ends. The Canadiens could have been called for a few things in the second period against as well, and we're not. It's the only thing we're focused on is the third period. I think this was a horribly officiated game from top to bottom, not simply towards the Montreal Canadiens. And yes, one of the refs is from Medicine Hat. Yeah, that's absolutely fantastic. And the other one is from just outside Toronto. There is no conspiracy here. There is none. It's just incompetence. It's just bad roughing.
Yes, that's the word. That's the word.
Literally it. And when you know that's happening, and you are like, and Brendan Gallagher said it, maybe we should have shut our mouths. And then I 100% agree with him. It's like, hey, buddy, you just got scored on the power play. You had a 2-goal lead. You're down to 1. Shut the bleep up. Yeah. Don't just do your job. You're a professional athlete, right? If you're going to keep jawing at the ref, nothing is going to come from that. It's going to be positive. Nothing.
No.
To me, it's like, were the refs terrible? Yes. Did the Habs help themselves? No, because the Mike Matheson trip that started this all was a legitimate penalty.
Yeah.
It was a legitimate penalty.
All day.
It's
unfortunate. Correct.
Mike, it's real, and I'm not going to blame Mike Matheson for trying to defend Connor McDavid. There's a reason why this guy draws so many calls. He's so good at cutting to the net. But ultimately, and I'm sorry, that's a penalty. And that's what got the party started, a legitimate penalty. And then it just dégringole from there. Like it's unfortunate. It really is. Like, to me, like, I understand the frustration.
Yeah.
But I think it's an oversimplifying of the situation to simply just look at the refs and be like, they sold the game. This game is bought. I saw tweets like the mafia owns sports betting, and this is why it's happening. Like all I'm saying, guys, is like this happens to teams all over the league.
Dude, it happened
all the time.
Marco, you want to talk about the Chicago game? What was the penalty call in the Chicago game? Would the Canadiens have 10 power plays where the conspiracy theorists abound, talking about how the league is trying to put the Canadiens over in Chicago's home opener, and they're trying to, get Les Glorieux back to the top of the standings, and so there's a conspiracy? No, it's an emotional reaction to a game in which the Montreal Canadiens had control, right? And yes, whether it's Chauncey Billups or Rozier, the Gambino crime family, the Bonanno crime family, we're going back to Mulberry Street in New York City in Little Italy style, right? And I like that you bring up, some of the takes, because the timing couldn't have been any worse, especially with the news that shocked the NBA yesterday, right? But when it comes to me, the bigger issue at hand here, right, is figuring out why this team a few times already, and the Canadiens still sit atop the Atlantic. They're 6-3. Yes, they lose to the Oilers. There's a bounce back opportunity. The Vancouver Canucks on Saturday night have lost 2 games in a row. You look for the markers that suggest you're talking about a good team. Good teams have the ability to bounce back. So we'll see what the Canadiens' punchback will be on Saturday. I mean, let's clear the air right now. Saturday night, it's Jakob Dobes. There's no debate here. I mean, we could just move on, right? It's Dobes' game on Saturday.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if he plays well, he'll get Seattle too.
I think so too. I mean, honest to God, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to put this game solely on Montembeault, because I do feel like the refereeing, opened up the door. The Canadiens scored 5 goals. That should be enough to win the game. But to me, like that last goal, the 6th goal, was pure indicative. And then if there are any goalies in the chat that have played, you'll know what I'm talking about here. Yeah. But you can tell when a goalie's in confidence, because a goalie that lacks confidence plays much deeper in his net than a goalie that is in full confidence. And Montembeault on that last goal was very much deep into his net, already committed to the butterfly. And then the backhand comes and he's too far into his net for the coverage on his glove hand. And his glove hand, to boot, was facing down before the shot was taken. So you had to have time to flip it up. In proper position, you are ready like this. And that's when the hand comes out. And if you're a little bit out of the net, you're cutting a strong percentage of that shooting opportunity behind him. So again, to me, like on that play specifically, like that's when it showed the most. But the Oilers had figured out that Montembeault was weak on his glove hand last night. If you look at the goals that were scored, outside of the first two tips. But I mean, the one thing, and then we're going to get into the actual constructive stuff in a sec. The one thing I will say before we get into the positives is I think that this is also a lesson for the Canadiens, because the Canadiens are still one of the most penalized teams in the league,
100%,
regardless of who the ref is, right? And so if they're going to find success in any way, shape, or form this season, they have to stop being in the box. And it's not Arbor Jack guy that's causing all these penalties. It's not any of the younger players that are causing all these penalties. It's the vets. Yeah. So this comes from the top.
Correct.
And so that's the only thing I got to say is, like, when you're Josh Anderson, when you're Brendan Gallagher, when you're Mike Matheson, guys, like, you got to lead by example here in the discipline department, even if that the refs aren't necessarily calling it down the middle.
Well, that's what I said in the opener, is like, Josh Anderson's been in the league for 10 years, man. Like, and to me, my read on the situation, and Marco's right. Like, I want to talk about the positives, Demidov's role. Where was he yesterday on the Canadiens' one power play opportunity? We'll talk about the Evans line with Gallagher and Anderson. I also want to get into Noah Dobson's game and Cole Caufield, and whether or not Team USA is paying attention. Nick Suzuki's point streak continues, right? But I think, when we talk about what had happened, and to me, one of the turning points, right, was the referee in conversation with Brendan Gallagher admitting to the assistant captain that they blew the Slafkovsky goal. He said they made a mistake. And you go back to the bench, that is communicated to the rest of the team, and I got to believe they're stewing. They are they can't get a hold of their minds, can't keep that composure. And we'll see if those lessons can be applied as early as Saturday night and learning from that example, because it was like the Canadiens got the first power play of the night, and then it was 6 straight minors that went against them. And obviously the egregious Slafkovsky, and then the Anderson gets teed up, and lo and behold, Draisaitl, McDavid, everybody's firing pucks. And unfortunately for Sam Montembeault, right, it was too bad, because, like, I'll be honest, I'm cheering for Montembeault. I want to see this guy regain his form. I want to see him do well to help this team move forward. But brother, like, if in the hypothetical world that doesn't exist, right, but it will here in a second, if he just made that one key stop, if he was able to hold on to a 5-4 lead, right, to me, that would have unlocked it all. I think it would have unlocked his mental freedom. Okay, I'm back. I locked it down. No more goals, and we win the game,
Even if they would have gotten the extra point, I think it would have done it.
You think so, eh?
Yeah. Because
just
then
get to overtime. Yeah.
You get to overtime.
Yeah.
You put Caufield on, go.
Yeah.
Now, I look at the way that I look at it is twofold. I felt like the Canadiens got a little overwhelmed emotionally and on the ice in the second half of the third period.
Yeah.
And then obviously it created what it created. One thing that I do want to point out is that top line went to work last night. Like, that top Canadiens line just dominated at 5-on-5. It was. We're going to talk about Cole Caufield. I mean, Cole Caufield was insane.
Yes.
Insane at both ends of the ice.
Yeah.
And I think that's the key here, is like, you look at a lot of his play, like not giving up on a play. You look at his second goal. Everybody thought it was off. Everybody thought it had hit the netting. And honestly, it probably did. And this goes to the inconsistency of the referee, or referees. But ultimately, Caufield continues with the play, goes down the other way, and takes fakes pass and takes a shot and scores a second in 2 minutes or 47 seconds. So to me, like, that's a gamer. That's a gamer's mentality. That's a guy that absolutely wants to come in and just rip it and be a difference maker. I mean, his first goal was a thing of beauty. And really, it is really fun to see how much his, even when he's gliding, he looks more explosive than a lot of the players skating at full speed. And I think that really is the biggest difference with him this year, is just like, there is an extra edge. He always had the scoring ability, but it was his ability to be able to skate his way into the high danger areas. And now he's able to do that with ease. Even when it's a one-on-one battle and he looks like he's, that maybe he'll get overpowered, he does, and we've seen this before, he does the move where he just slowly slides the puck under the defender's stick, who's like right next to him, and takes the shot from under his stick so that he doesn't get stick checked. And he scored a couple of goals that way over the past couple of years, but really it has been intriguing to watch how quick and how crafty he is on the rush. And it's really kind of helped him in terms of his offense this year. He's now tied for the lead in goal scoring. Am I right?
That is a fact. And just to add to that, Lane Hutson, again, like, one of my takeaways from the game is watching 48. And again, I love his hockey IQ. I love how purposeful his shot selections are. He's just not a cock it back, let it fly, and let's see what happens on a rebound or whatever the case may be. How he purposefully steers shots for deflections, steers shots, whether it's a slap pass or something along those lines. Lane Hutson is tied for the lead in amongst NHL defensemen with his 7 assists. Lane Hutson's 8 points is second amongst his position, behind only the great Cale Makar, who's on 9 points. Hutson on 8 points, second most points amongst any defenseman in the National Hockey League, to add to Cole Caufield and where he's at with his 7 goals. So while we have Cole Caufield on the tip of our tongues, let's expand. Let me ask you a question I was asking the boys on the morning show today. The player more likely to represent their country in February in Italy, Cole Caufield or Nick Suzuki?
This is how funny it is. Nick Suzuki.
I agree. So we're four. McKenna agreed. Simon Salikas went Nick Suzuki. I went Nick Suzuki, and you're going Nick Suzuki. And I think expand on your reason why.
Bill Guerin, baby, likes his big boys. Likes his big boys. I don't know what to tell you. He wants, if he's gonna have talented guys on a bottom six, and with that coaching staff, they like their size, they like their identity. We'll see what you want my 2 cents. I think Cole Caufield should be on that roster all day, every day for the U.S.
I agree.
When you
want
have
goals, you need goals. More goals.
Well, I mean, yeah, they need more goals, but this is also the same team that sat Kyle Connor in the final of the Four Nations. So, I'm not. And when you have a Kyle Connor on your team, do you need a Cole Caufield? Like we look at all the major goal scorers. Well, I mean, Calvin Pickard did not have a better game than Montembeault.
No, he did not. No, he did not. The Canadiens were the better team.
When you look at Cole Caufield and you look at the way he impacts the game, clearly a better goal scorer plus 5-on-5 player at this stage of his career than DeBrincat. So you remove DeBrincat from the equation. Then it's really going to be choosing between him and Kyle Connor. Right. If I were to build a team, I'd have both of them on my team because you need goal scorers on this team. You don't know if Matthew Tkachuk and Brady Tkachuk are going to be at 100%. You're going to need depth in that department. But at the same time, if you're the Montreal Canadiens, you really wouldn't mind if Cole Caufield didn't go to the Olympics.
Well, and I don't need to tell you this, but I'll remind the audience, I don't know how, if they're in the weeds to the level that, you are or I am, but I mean, he's got 10 overtime goals in his career. To me, that's the case for Cole Caufield on Team USA. Like, the point's well made about how deep they are, how talented they are, but it's the situations in which Cole Caufield has risen to the occasion, certainly this season. And if he can keep that trend up in terms of the timely goal scoring, like, how do you not throw that guy over the boards on the third period because of what he's shown, certainly this year and obviously throughout his career, with how potent he can be. And look at the styles in which he scores those goals, 2 of them last night of the 2 different varieties. And I think, the gimme putt, when I ask you the tough question about more likely to make their country's Olympic roster for the Olympics in February, Nick Suzuki is just so versatile. Nick Suzuki's such a situational guy. He can play in all situations. You want to play him on the wing, you want a depth center, you want him on a PK, you want him on a power play. Like, he moves about all of those things. And that's, I think, what puts it over the top to me. And then you got Bill Guerin's comments about Lane Hutson and, maybe it's not his time yet and everything else. But, that's their country's program to manage. We just have our opinions in the aftermath of the Montreal Canadiens blowing a 5-3 third period lead to the Edmonton Oilers.
Don't say they blew it.
Well, they did. I don't give a shit about what the comments say. I've been in the media business, brother, for 25 years. I have my opinions. My skin is thick. I could take it. I'm not too worried. 5-3 is 5-3 was the lead. The referees get involved. The net front presence from the Montreal Canadiens, non-existent for the most part. And we'll see what the bounce back is on Saturday in Vancouver. But you got it. You got it. It took 9 games, but Ivan Demidov was on the first wave of the power play, Marco. Impressions on how he looked in over 12 minutes of ice time in that game.
I mean, I thought he looked noticeable. I think towards the end of the game, he was being a little boxed out. I did appreciate the fact that on the only power play that the Canadiens had, he was on the first power play wave. I thought that worked out well. Still not necessarily fond of how it's set up, but, baby steps. Yeah. He's on the first power play wave. So I think that'll help. The only problem with his ice time, I had a couple of people complaining to me about this morning. He was on pace for like 15 minutes. And if the Canadiens had any power play time of their own, he would have actually increased that total in the third period. But again, you get into the third period, you have 3 penalties against, and you're defending the lead at the end of the game, or you're trying to at least get the extra point. It's normal that he finished with a little bit around 13 minutes. Like, to me, if the Canadiens had not, and the referees had not been so generous with their whistling, he would have had the 15, 16 minutes that he was on pace to get. Yes, I'm sure he doesn't agree with me, but he's also emotionally invested in the game. I'm not.
Right? I mean, is John suggesting, Marco, that when Cole Caufield said, "Hey, congrats on the win," that he was talking to the referees? Is that John's perception of Cole Caufield's post-game comments?
Well, if you just read the comments, yes.
Yeah.
But if you Cole Caufield's an intelligent person. He left that comment of "and they won it, good for them" up to interpretation.
Agreed.
Of course, he was talking about the Oilers, but
right? Well, that's it. If it fits your agenda, if you think there's a conspiracy theory, you're going to have the opinion that he was talking about the referees, right?
Well, I mean, there was a side, like there's a reason he positioned it that way.
I agree.
Now,
I don't disagree.
The thing that I will say, and I think Brendan Gallagher was clear about this in his comments because he was the one dealing with the refs most of the night.
Exactly.
Brendan Gallagher is the one that's allowed to go and yell at the refs. As alternate captains and captains are the ones on the ice that are supposed to do so. Josh Anderson had no business doing so. So you want to have that conversation with the refs, you pull them over, you have a conversation, and so on and so forth. I am, again, one...
That's it. Austin nails it. That's it, right? Like, wink, wink.
I understand everyone's frustrations. I do. But ultimately, it was avoidable. I don't think that anyone can honestly be on this, talk to me with, having cooled off overnight and tell me that the last night's loss was avoidable. It was avoidable. And 100%. Lessons will be learned from this. You better believe lessons will be learned from this. But now I'd like to actually uncover some of the fantastic things that happened last night on the ice that lead me to believe that the Canadiens are in business when it comes to the rest of the season. Because, it's one loss. But what I saw last night, if the Canadiens play like they did last night over the first 55 minutes of the game, they're going to be not only a playoff team, they're going to be a top 3 team in the Atlantic all day, every day, because that was domination at 5-on-5.
Did you see the discourse out of Edmonton that this was the fastest team they've seen the Oilers play this season? And at 5-on-5, they were the better team. They were all over it. I mean, frig, they scored 5 goals, man. They scored 5 goals. They should have won that hockey game. But you're right to point out the positives there. From Cole Caufield's game, and what about Kapanen? Kapanen with the nice distribution. Normally, we've seen him on the receiving end, right? But nice to see him show some really strong hockey IQ on a great pass that resulted in a goal for the Montreal Canadiens. That Kapanen's game and Alex Newhook's game. I remember you talking about him on the wing. I mean, that is his chair, man. That is where he's born to play under Martin St. Louis.
Yep, and honestly, he was great on the penalty kill up until the end of the game. Unfortunately, it's really hard to defend what is probably the best modern day power play wave, in the NHL. When it comes to the way that he was able to find the net, I mean, this week I think he has 5 points already.
Yeah,
something along those
lines. Is it 5? Yeah.
5, yeah. He had 2 goals last night. I think he had an assist the other night, and then I think he had a goal and assist the night before. 5-on-5, the Canadiens were excellent.
Yeah.
Untouchable. And that second line of Demidov, Kapanen, and Alex Newhook was fantastic in terms of being able to create offense and in terms of playing the speed game, the cycle game, affecting the neutral zone. Like, they were everywhere. Alex Newhook, to me, is really starting to find his groove. And I think that is very, very, very good. Well, you say it, Alex.
We'll see.
I think it'll be a really good game. I think it really will be a good game between the two.
Yeah.
But I think that if Montreal plays the way they played last night in a back-to-back setting, like, I don't think I'd be making anybody kind of fall off their chair saying this was the best 5-on-5 game they played all year.
Right.
If they can play like this again, bailo. If they can play like this,
see how stupid I am? I'll put a comment like that on the screen, you bozo.
I just feel like when you look at this when you look at the objectively, the way that they were moving the puck, the way that things were being put in motion, I absolutely loved that dynamic. I loved the way that they saw the ice. Like that Noah Dobson pass on the Caufield goal.
Oh, baby.
Right? Like,
oh, baby. Yes.
Those plays didn't happen last year. Right? That's the dynamic that's setting in right now. You're seeing way more implication from defensemen. You're seeing guys like Noah Dobson, Mike Matheson, Lane Hutson had one heck of a game too.
No kidding.
Being so aggressive in the way that they go about pushing the play forward and feeding the opposition. Like it's truly, to me, it's truly incredible watching how quick they are at counterattacking and transitioning. And if you go back and listen to the vision that Kent Hughes had for this team when he took over, this is exactly what he was talking about.
Yeah.
And so John, I believe that they will be more disciplined.
Correct.
They will be more aggressive. To me, this game was a lesson. It was a serious lesson that, yeah, it's a 2-goal lead. But if you start seeing the refs are having an iffy game, don't even bother, guys. Don't even bother. Play your game. And I think that level of discipline is something that has to happen, because if the Canadiens would have done that, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. Fans would be up in arms.
Well, that's it. It's the thing too, right? It's like, we point out the lack of discipline last year. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they were top 5 most penalized team. I want to say 4th in the NHL. I mean, what do we attribute that to?
Discipline. Lack of discipline. I would say a lot of them last year versus this year were, penalties that were taken out of desperation as well.
Yeah.
A lot of out of position plays. I find that they're well better positioned this year. Outside of the Mike Matheson trip on McDavid in the later stages of the third period, I don't feel like they took a penalty because they were out of position or overwhelmed. In fact, I would say that it was objectively the opposite. They all felt like nothing plays. And in some cases, there weren't even plays at all if you look at the Josh Anderson penalty. So that to me is encouraging, because these are objectively subjective penalties. These are very arguable penalties. Whereas last year, I didn't find that was the case. Last year, it was more like, why would he do that? Why did he do this? Why did he do that? Like Arbor Xhekaj, he's a penalty machine. What's going on? Arbor Xhekaj is not a penalty machine anymore. Why? Because he's more often than not in a better position. He's more often than not getting better support from Alex Carrier or Lane Hutson. So you're not being forced to chase the play as much. And I think that to me is the most positive aspect in what is probably a very shitty outcome in this loss. I mean, the Canadiens absolutely deserved a point. Absolutely deserved a point in this game, if not 2. I mean, they deserved 2, but they at least deserved 1. Yeah. And I just feel like ultimately, that's gonna come back. It's gonna come back in their favor. It already has come back in their favor. They've won games they had no business winning in overtime. We've seen this before, right? Yeah. So I guess law of averages, but to me, the law of averages will win out in the Canadiens' favor, because it's the details that they're showing in their game that I think are going to make them consistently dangerous. When you look at the rest of the teams in the Atlantic Division, it's just not comparable right now.
Hey, Detroit got cracked by the New York Islanders with a 7 spot. Matthew Schaefer over 25 minutes. No points, though, for the stud that is Matthew Schaefer there. The San Jose Sharks go to MSG and beat the Rangers. It looks like Macklin Celebrini had a nice little bounce back game. What did he have? 5 points there. Logan Cooley, a natural hat trick, right? Logan Cooley explodes for the juggernaut Utah Mammoth in the Western Conference. What have they won? 5-6 games in a row now, and Logan Cooley had a massive day for Utah there. So, parity really much is a thing in the National Hockey League. I like this comment. Thanks, Alex. Because it reminds me of how many games Brendan Gallagher has played in his career, and I still, to this day, don't believe he gets the benefit of the doubt. And look, when it comes to like holding a grudge, there was a mea culpa on the Slafkovsky goal to be repetitive. Like they told Gallagher they fudged that one up. Craig Button eviscerated the referees and their job yesterday. And ultimately, Josh Anderson should not escape blame. A guy who's been in the league for 10 years has to control his emotions better, not slam his stick 8 times on the ice and do a mock cheer in the face of the referee. That's what set it all off. There has to be a little bit more control there. So my gut says they're not going to. I think the referees know they messed up. They admitted so, and I don't see it as like a grudge against the Canadiens. I could be wrong, but that's just my read.
Remember last year with the Rangers, right? Like Martin St. Louis, or was it the year prior where Martin St. Louis went to town on refs and a Rangers game that did probably the exact same thing? Like,
yeah, exactly.
And it's neither of these two guys, right?
Yeah.
So like, what does the whole league have it out for Montreal? Like, look, I understand it was a terribly officiated game, very inconsistent on both ends of the ice. Yeah. They admitted that they were wrong on one of those plays. I don't think that Josh Anderson, like, I don't understand why Josh Anderson was ticked off about the Mike Matheson penalty. That was a penalty.
That was a real penalty. That was a real the slashing.
That was a real penalty. If you had to go to town on the refs, that Slafkovsky boarding, I've gotten hugs harder than that. Like,
yeah, exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
No, that is not the case. But if you're going to be frustrated, do it there. Thank you, Charles. Oh boy, I need a drink. It's 11 o'clock.
It's 5 o'clock somewhere, brother. That's the old saying. It's 5 o'clock somewhere.
It's 5 o'clock where? In
Italy.
Exactly. It's 5 o'clock in Italy. I'm literally calling my great aunt after the show. I'm
Ragazzo, aperitivo, per favore. Yeah? Exactly. I'm down. I've been up since 3:30, so I'm ready. I'm ready to join you.
I don't think I slept last night. So, when it comes to analyzing this is the other aspect I really want to touch on.
Yeah.
We have been talking since the beginning of the season about how the Canadiens have improved their transition game, right? Last night, we saw a little bit of a tweak in terms of how the Canadiens were defending. I don't know if fans caught on to this, but Matheson was playing with Carrier to shut down the McDavid line. I don't know if anybody caught that.
Smart move.
And then Dobson played with Hutson. And I just want to add this because I feel like a lot of these times, a lot of these things go like under the radar in certain situations, and it's fine. There's so much happening in a game. It's really fast. But sometimes when you go back and you look at them a second or third time and you take notes, some of these things stick out. Noah Dobson and Lane Hutson is a pairing that everybody wanted to see the second that Noah Dobson got signed. They were fantastic in terms of being able to kill plays, turn the puck around, and run with it when they were on the ice together. Mike Matheson and Alex Carrier were very effective at shutting down McDavid at 5-on-5. McDavid, if I'm not mistaken, got all of his points, or at least 2 of the 3 points that he had on the power play. So at 5-on-5, they did really, really good. I don't think he's going to galaxy brain the line changes.
I don't think so. I think it was a situational thing.
Yeah, I think you're trying to counter McDavid. Again, like Noah Dobson is just starting to find his legs now, right? In terms of coming back from a groin injury. You saw his mobility last night. It looked good. But as we saw from Mike Matheson, it takes a whole other level of mobility to be able to counter McDavid. And with Caden Gooley, who is probably the best combination of skating / defensive ability on the team, out, Mike Matheson had to be the one to counter that. And I thought he did a really good job of that. And I really do want to throw my flowers to him. I think Mike Matheson has just been stellar, this season. The one thing I found was a little unfortunate was just the last 5 minutes of the game. That last goal.
Yeah.
It's really unfortunate, but I feel like you have to tie up your guy in that situation. You have to tie up your guy. Like it's the last minute of the period. Worst case, take a penalty.
Exactly.
Worst case. Yeah. But don't take
a good one. Take a good one.
This exactly. Take a good one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I understand that, and that's just like where I stand with this is yes, the Canadiens lost 6-5, but their 5-on-5 defensive structure for a team that played back-to-back last night, the last 2 games they played, I have never been more confident in a Montreal Canadiens defense core in a long time, and that includes their 2021 core.
Fair, but they got it. I've said, I feel like I've said this forever. But when you get to the blue paint of the tip of the top of the goalie crease, and it's why, like, I was, exaggerating to make a point, missing the days of Joel Edmondson or Hal Gill or Shea Weber. Like, I'm old school in my way of thinking sometimes. And when you get close to the goaltender where you can smell the guy's deodorant, like, you gotta pay a price. That to me is such a valuable piece of real estate that you got to pay a price. If you want to get in the club and the club is the top of the crease and you want to establish presence there, you got to pay a physical price. And I thought that part got away from the Montreal Canadiens at various points last night. That's why, I said what I said 40 minutes ago. It's not just one thing that added up to the Canadiens losing that game in the manner in which they did. You can point to Sam Montembeault with the not timely stop. You can talk about a free pass to the front of the net. You can talk about the referee is jobbing the Montreal Canadiens. You can talk about the veterans on the Montreal Canadiens. Let's be honest, they lost their composure. Their emotions got the best of them, and it all snowballed into this gigantic 6-5 loss that has people are angry. People want, they're at a vendetta. They're out for blood. The conspiracies are out left, right, and center when the Montreal Canadiens lost a hockey game. But it's just not as simple as, at least I don't think anyway. I don't think it's right to blame Sam Montembeault. I don't think it's right to blame the referees. I don't think it's right to blame one specific player or one specific moment. There's a lot of things, Marco, in my mind that added up to how that game got away from them.
I think ultimately it was a cascading of situations. I understand that the Canadiens were very, emotional. Look, the refs were terribly inconsistent. It's just, let's call a spade a spade.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
You can only control what you can control. And what can you control as a player? Your reactions, your body language, the way that yes, it is. It absolutely is.
Mark, if I could just stop, this is what we're trying to do here. Like, it's funny, when we first started the channel and everything else, I wanted this to always be a place where you can have your point of view. You can express your point of view with no disrespect, just to get back to, we can meet in the middle. We can meet in the middle in terms of, oh, you know what? You make a good point. I didn't think about it that way, and that is so important for me anyway. So third eye, I
just want to add, I want to add that I agree with everything that was just said except Sidney Crosby.
This mother, freaking 3 points again yesterday. 2 goals, power play, Snipe City. Penguins are 6-2, D'Amico. What's happening?
They have as many points as the Montreal Canadiens do.
Stop, Marcos. It's Friday.
Anyway, guys, I'm just messing. You guys chirp me. I chirp you all. And really, this is why we enjoy the comment section. Everyone has just such phenomenal things to add, and it really does make it fun. So please do keep it coming. There's another thing I really wanted to kind of touch up on, and I think we've talked about it. Thank you, Austin.
Thanks, Austin.
There's definitely one thing I think we definitely haven't touched on that we need to touch on. The Canadiens in the face-off circle, man.
Again, got caved in, eh?
Holy moly.
Because they've been really good. They've been dominant. Like, I think not the last game, but they went on a little bit of a run. No, they've gone on a little bit of a run there, but yeah, they got crows at like 63 something, whatever. I mean, it was lopsided.
It was very lopsided. And what I find insane is that they got caved in the face-off circle, which means they didn't start more than, they started 37% of the plays with possession.
Yeah.
And they dominated possession.
Yeah.
That's insane.
I know.
What does that mean? That means good puck retrieval, killing plays, good transition, and sustained offensive pressure.
Yeah.
If they can get a solution, because I do not as much as I thought that he was okay-ish, I do not think that Kirby Dach is a long-term solution at center. I'm sorry.
It's interesting.
If you can't win a draw, if you can't win at least 50% of a draw, if you're going to be a number 2 or number 3 center, then you're already starting at a disadvantage. I didn't find that Kirby Dach was necessarily implicated last night. There was a lot of soft plays, a lot of missed pucks, a lot of board battles, a lot of missed defensive opportunities. And again, he's just coming back. I'm still willing to give him time if you wanted me to talk about Dach. But I just felt like that Dach, Veleno, Balzuk line, I really liked Bolzuk's game overall. I thought that he was chippy. I thought he was hitting guys. I thought that he was mouthing. I thought that that is the kind of physical implication and emotion that I want to see. Because you didn't see Zachary Bolzuk going after guys. You didn't see him after refs. He went after the opposition's players, but you didn't see him complaining about shifts and the way that the refs were handling their business. So to me, like, that's the disciplined style of a smash mouth team that needs to be. And so I really like the way he plays. I think that goal against Calgary has given him a little bit of an up. My 2 cents, ultimately, I feel like he is in the same situation, I find, that Ivan Demidov was when he first got to the Canadiens, where he's basically on an island and he needs help. And this goes back to Shaun's comments about the Canadiens needing to find a solution at center to be able to help them. Doesn't necessarily mean they need to find themselves a permanent 3C, but they definitely need to find a solution at C if they want 3 lines being able to generate offense on a regular basis. Because right now, against a lot of expectation, they've got 2 going. And I would argue that the first line has been excessively unlucky when it comes to the way that they're generating offense, because they could have had 3, 4, 5 goals more last night if they had just been able to convert on a couple of them.
Yeah, but it's funny though, like some of the takes on Kirby Dach are a bit harsh, but I get it. You know, it's still the most glaring need, I believe, on this team. What I would also add to that would be a little bit more depth on the back end for the Montreal Canadiens as Struble and Xhekaj continue to find their way in the absence of it's an enormous hole. And, you know, Marco made some good points when he talked about what Caden Gooley brings to the table. It is such a difficult spot to recover from, but they're still 6-3. But with everything said about Kirby Dach, I mean, he's still the better option over Owen Beck and Joshua Roy. I mean, it is what it is, and that's what I see. It's unfortunate for Joshua Roy, but like he's probably not going to play again on this trip.
That's why so many people want to see Michael Hage with the Canadiens at the end of the season. Whether or not that's the best call for his development, I don't know. Ask me in April, and we'll see how much his game has evolved, and we'll be able to tell from there. But the lack of quality depth at center throughout the entirety of the organization. Like, I know some people are going to be like, call up Florian. Well, Florian hasn't necessarily lit up the AHL either, right? Like, that's kind of where I'm at with this. It's like, you want a guy that can drive play. Michael Hage is the only center in the Canadiens' entire reserve list right now that could viably push the pace at center for the Montreal Canadiens. So I'm just a little worried, because I had some guys basically, you know, shocked that I thought that Michael Hage could potentially have some AHL time next year if he were to sign with the Canadiens. I think that the Canadiens will have to find a solution at center, even if it's a stopgap, before they try to put Michael Hage in that situation right off the bat.
So I had the great fortune of talking with Darren Dreger, as we do every Friday on TSN 690 at 8:35. And I brought up Nazem Kadri's name when I had a chance to pick his brain on filling the 2C role. And Darren Dreger more or less said that, you know, he checks a lot of boxes for the Montreal Canadiens. He said he could be a 2C on pretty much any team in the National Hockey League today. All the nonsense that maybe you saw from Kadri's younger years would be, they're non-existent in his game today. And further to that, talked about the timeline, the potential timeline. And again, I should have prefaced everything by saying he hasn't spoken to Ken Hughes about Nazem Kadri. There's you know, as far as Dreger is concerned, there's nothing there today. But Calgary is where they are in the standings, and they've got the Rasmus Anderson thing to figure out in Calgary. And then ultimately, if the fans want to rebuild, you're not going to rebuild with Rasmus Anderson and Nazem Kadri, and that these are a couple of guys that you can likely see moved. And he mentioned the Montreal Canadiens having the capacity to make a move for Nazem Kadri. He threw in the Vancouver Canucks as another team that potentially could have what it takes to get him out of Calgary. And I think also mentioned Toronto, but doesn't believe that the Maple Leafs can match what Montreal or Vancouver could bring to the table. But Nazem Kadri is a possible stopgap, stopgap insert player, guy who's going to cross the 1,000 game played threshold here. I mean, I like everything about the guy, and if the price is right, I think Kadri would be a great fit in this market if he does, want to come here.
No, sorry. I still,
It's okay.
I'm of the ilk
Bothers me, but
that
whatever.
no, it's just, I am of the ilk that if Kadri were ever to be made available, there would be a plethora of teams lined up to get him. And I just don't know that the Canadiens would get into a bidding war for a player that would, first of all, account for $7 million on the cap for an additional until he's 39. And then you're going to have to deal with what to do with him. Like, I personally like the player. I like the player today, but we talked about this the other day. He's not performing to the level that he was last year so far this season. That to me is worrisome. When you start seeing it go down like that, that's where things get tricky for me. You throw in the NMC, right? The full no movement clause. So he would be able to decide where he goes. And then at the same time, you have to factor in that he's probably going to want to go to a team that's going to win. I don't care that he grew up a Habs fan. He's probably he's at the tail end of his career. He's going to want to go to a place where he's going to be a contender year in, year out. Yes, if he joins the Montreal Canadiens, they will be a team to watch in the playoffs for a regular basis. But what happens when his play starts to dip? Are you hoping that Michael Hage will be a bona fide number 2 center within 2 years when that eventually and inevitably happens? So I think that if the Canadiens are going to spend the assets to get a 2C, it would be a permanent 2C. It would be an age-appropriate 2C. If they're going to try to get a stopgap, I think they would probably go for one that would be less cost-effective unless, and this is the only way I think Shaun is right about this, unless Kadri tells the Flames,
that's it.
I want to go to Montreal.
That's it. And that to me, when you talk about the options, and I don't disagree that there are going to be a lot of teams, perhaps positioning themselves, but I wonder about how, obviously a lot has to happen for the Canadiens. They got to kind of stay where they are competitively, and that's a top 3 spot in the Atlantic Division. How many teams are going to have the future of the Montreal Canadiens and be as competitive, hypothetically speaking, as the Habs? I think it'll be a shorter list, but the Canadiens, they got to stop and they got to win in Vancouver on Saturday night. And if you missed the intro to the show, yes, I'm dealing with a power failure in my neighborhood. Hydro-Quebec first said it'd be on by 10:30, and now they're saying 4:30. So here I am on my AirPods Pro and my iPhone to be able to, along with Marco, bring this show to you today as promised on Friday. And so, yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'll just stay on by myself until 4 o'clock this afternoon because I have absolutely nothing to do today and no power to kill myself. Marco's, as you can see, he's been busy all show here. But if we talk about Sam Montembeault, and we're no goalie whisperers, man, I don't want to be dramatic and say I'm getting Kane and Primo vibes, but his numbers are just so bad. And I'm not, I'm not big on the individual save percentage for a game, but bro, I mean, his season save percentage is 842. Caden Primo is 836. He's knocking on Caden Primo territory, to be nasty, no?
When goalies lose their confidence, man, it's terrible to watch.
Yeah,
terrible to watch, right? And he's really at that point. There were pucks that he was losing last night off shots and this and that would ultimately would have been saved or retained or iced. That he was just letting go and again, you can tell with the goalie playing deeper in his net. Just a guy that overall was just, I felt, not 100% in it. He was in his head more than he was in the game. And it's unfortunate, and it speaks to the difficulty and the peculiarity of the position that is a goaltender. So I am more than willing to continue to give him leash, considering how good he's been for the Canadiens in the past.
Yeah.
That being said, this is no longer a team that is devoid of expectations. At a certain point in time, results are going to need to happen. He's going to need to find his confidence again. This is personally why I would have given him Calgary over Edmonton as a start, because I thought that he would have an easier time finding his confidence again against a team that's peppering you from the extremities. But the problem with Sam Montembeault right now is it seems to be the perimeter shots that give him the most amount of problems.
Yeah, agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't moment. And I just feel like ultimately when it comes down to it, he's just going to have to – you need that one break as a goaltender. You need that one game to feel good about yourself where you're just feeling it. And right now I think that Sam Montembeault is just cascading levels of pressure. And the only thing I could say is, the Canadiens are very, very lucky that they've finally developed some level of depth at the goaltending position.
Yeah.
And the Jakob Dobes is a viable option to take over while Samuel Montembeault figures his stuff out.
And how long it's going to take to figure out Sam Montembeault. I don't even think Sam Montembeault knows. I don't even think he knows when he tried to fall asleep last night after that hockey game where the Canadiens gave him run support. There were 5 goals there, and Edmonton was able to pull out the 6-5 victory. So, what's the number one going into Vancouver? By the way, that's a 7 p.m. Eastern time zone puck drop. So good for us, too bad for them. But say la vie. The number one thing the Montreal Canadiens cannot repeat if they want to leave one of the best cities in this country with 2 points in their back pocket. What can they not do again Saturday night?
Get in the box.
Yeah.
You have to stay out of the box, man. You just have to stop giving your opponents opportunities. It's always about getting to a point with with the play that they have. To me, the Vancouver Canucks are another team that is not very deep at center. If you can win the transition battle, they will beat the Vancouver Canucks. I'm willing to say this right now. If they play the way they played against the Edmonton Oilers, where they were quick on the counterattack, they were strong along the boards, they owned the center of the ice, they were able to maintain offensive zone pressure. If they are able to play this way, they will beat the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah.
The Edmonton Oilers were beat outside of getting 3 or 4 power plays in the third period. They were beat. It was done. If this game is mostly played at 5-on-5, the Canadiens will beat the Vancouver Canucks. So let's keep it at 5-on-5.
I couldn't believe they lost. I can't believe they lost that game last night. I went to bed. They had the lead. I couldn't believe that when I woke up, how many more goals were scored. I mean, I hate the fact that that's the shitty part, about early mornings and everything else. And trust me when I say I love what I do in my career. I love going to work every day. I mean that. But that's the downside of morning radio. It's like you miss great games. You miss great football games, baseball heroics, and the circumstances in which, a game like last night against the Montreal Canadiens got away from them yesterday, so that's a tough one. And I think it's going to be another one of these where I'm going to have to take another nap today because I need my Z's, so I watched 40 minutes of the hockey game, I watched 40 minutes of that game, but come third period and everything else, man, that was a tough one. And I'd like to see the Canadiens be mentally strong here and have a nice pushback and leave it behind you. Leave it in Edmonton. I get it. You're pissed off. I get it. The referees jobbed you. I feel that. I get it. It's a normal reaction to have. But that's the type of stuff to me, like when I think about great athletes and their ability to overcome and not impose a tremendous amount of self-doubt, that you can leave that game in Edmonton. Saturday's a different circumstance, different game altogether. I firmly believe Jakob Dobes, not a hot take by any stretch, Jakob Dobes between the pipes gives this team a better chance to get back on. And like we talk about regularly, the really good teams, the top 3 teams, the division leading teams, they stop the losing. They stop the bleeding. They figure it out and they solve that puzzle. And if we want to pretend and think seriously, credibly that the Montreal Canadiens are that team already this season, then let's see that answer on Saturday night. And you talk about the depth, about the Vancouver Canucks and everything else. I don't know, playing a Saturday afternoon home game, these guys are such creatures of habit. Maybe there's a little angle there. I don't know about playing a Saturday afternoon game. Maybe that plays to the advantage of the Canadiens a little bit because Vancouver's lost 2 in a row. So maybe just add up the bad stuff,
I think ultimately when it comes to the timing of it, I don't think the timing of it really makes a difference. The Canadiens played 2 late games, and the latest game on the second game was the game that they outplayed the opposition the most, right?
Yeah.
So I think this is a young team. Shouldn't be very difficult in terms of a timing perspective for them to wake up for a game. Youngest team in the league. Got younger with Patrick Laine out of the lineup, imagine. So this is a team that is more than willing and more than able to be able to execute. That it'd be a late game, early game, matinee, 7 p.m. prime time. I'm not necessarily worried about that. Could it potentially affect the Vancouver Canucks preparation? That's a completely different question. And one that I think Thomas Drance and other very qualified Vancouver Canucks-based beat reporters are probably going to be able to answer better than me. But what I would say is Vancouver right now is primed with pressure.
Yeah, agreed.
Vancouver is primed with being able to produce. And with Hedl out, their center depth is exposed. And so I feel like this is where the Montreal Canadiens can take advantage. And I feel like the Montreal Canadiens defensive core, especially their top 4 right now, are better structured, in my opinion, to be able to execute a game that would overwhelm the Vancouver Canucks on a more regular basis.
That'll do it for the Friday live show. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And I get it, an emotional reaction to game that the Montreal Canadiens had, and refereeing, goaltending, lack of discipline, net front protection, all were big whiffs last night in Edmonton. But we'll see how this team responds. Mentally up to the task. Physically, they're there. Second leg of a back-to-back, 3 games in 4 nights, man. Like, they brought the juice. They outskated the Oilers. They were the better 5-on-5 team. But sometimes the world, as we know, is a very unfair place. And that's the way she goes. So we'll be back on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. to recap the Habs and Vancouver Canucks. Look forward to reading more of your comments, reacting to all of your takes, as we always do right here. So we'll bid adieu. Enjoy your Friday. Hope you enjoy your evening and enjoy your families and enjoy the weekend. And make sure to be back here on Sunday morning with D'Amico and Starr in the post-aftermath of the Canucks and Montreal Canadiens. Marco, have yourselves a good day.
Have a good weekend, everybody.